Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever looked at a successful company and wondered, how do they actually pull it off? How does a brilliant plan on paper become a reality in the market? Well, the secret sauce, the real magic, is something called organizational control. It's the bridge that connects your plans to your performance. So let's get right into it. So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover what control is and why you should care. Then, we're going to walk through a super practical 5-step process. After that, we'll see how control looks different depending on who you are in a company. We'll explore 3 main types of control, and then we'll see it all work together in a real-world example. So, let's start with this big question right here. Think about it. Any business can come up with a killer strategy. But if you don't have a way to check your progress, to fix things when they go off the rails, and to, just stay on track, that amazing strategy is really just a wish on a piece of paper. The answer is control. Which brings us to our first section. What exactly is control, and why does it matter? At its heart, control is simply the process of making sure things go according to plan. It's all about setting a target, measuring what's actually happening, and then stepping in to fix any differences. It's the system that keeps the ship sailing in the right direction. So why is this so critical for you? Well, whether you're heading into management, you're going to be an accountant, or an office administrator, this is your world. Control is what helps you handle surprises in the market. It's what ensures the sales team and the production team are actually on the same page. And really importantly, it helps minimize those expensive mistakes. It's the backbone of an efficient organization. Okay, so that's the what and the why. But how do you do it? That's where our second section comes in, the 5-step control process. I want you to think of this as your practical go-to toolkit that you can use in pretty much any business situation you can think of. And here it is, the whole process at a glance. It's a really logical flow, isn't it? You set a standard, you measure what happens, you compare the two, you figure out why there's a difference, and then you act on it. And notice, it's a loop. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's about constant improvement. So let's break down each step. All right, step 1, setting performance standards. This is so simple, but it's absolutely crucial. You just can't win the game if you haven't defined what winning looks like. Now, this could be a hard number, a quantitative goal, like hit a sales target of 500 units, or it could be qualitative, something like improve customer satisfaction. Whatever it is, the key is that it has to be clear and it has to be measurable. So you've set your target. What's next? Step 2, you've got to measure what's actually going on. This is where you gather the data. And that data can come from anywhere: sales reports, financial statements, or even just walking around and observing things firsthand. For all you future accountants out there, this is your bread and butter. You're the ones providing the hard data that managers need to make smart calls. Now for step 3. This is the moment of truth. This is where you take the data you just collected in step 2 and you hold it up against the standard you set back in step 1. Are we crushing our goals? Are we falling behind? This is where the rubber meets the road, where you spot that gap between what you wanted to happen and what is happening. But, just spotting a problem isn't enough, right? In step 4, you have to play detective. You have to analyze that gap. Why are sales down? Is it because a competitor dropped their prices? Do our salespeople need more training? You've got to dig deep to find the root cause, because if you only treat the symptom, the problem will just keep coming back. And finally, this is where it all comes together. Step 5. Taking corrective action. This is how you close the loop. Based on your detective work in the last step, you roll out a solution. Maybe that means getting more training for your staff. Maybe it means finding a new supplier. It might even mean you have to adjust your original goal if you realize it was unrealistic. This is the action that gets you back on course. Right, so we've got the 5-step playbook down. But here's the thing. Control isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. It looks very different depending on where you are in a company. So that brings us to section 3, the levels of management control. We're going to see how this works from the CEO's office all the way down to the front line. And this pyramid just nails the concept. At the very top, you've got your top-level executives. They're taking that 30,000-foot view, looking at the long-term health of the entire company. Down in the middle, you have your department managers, focusing on maybe quarterly or monthly goals. And then at the base, you've got your frontline supervisors who are right there in the trenches, managing the day-to-day stuff. So let's really dig into what this table shows us. Strategic control, that's the top management. They're asking big picture questions like, will we hit our 5-year growth target? Then there's tactical control for middle managers. They're wondering, did my department hit its sales goals for this quarter? And finally, operational control. This is for the supervisors on the floor. It's immediate. It's, did we produce enough units today? See? All are super important, just on different scales. Okay, so we've covered the how and the who. The next logical question is when? When do you actually step in and apply control? This brings us to section 4, where we'll talk about the 3 different types of control, which is all about the timing of your actions. I love this graphic because it's so simple. Pretty much every business activity has inputs, the stuff you start with. Then there's the process, the work you do, and then the outputs, your final result. Well, you can apply control before you start, during the work, or after you're done. Let's look at each one. First up is feed-forward control. Think of this as being a psychic for your business. It's all about being proactive and preventing problems before they can even happen. The classic example is a factory inspecting its raw materials. By catching bad fabric before it gets sewn into a shirt, you save a ton of time, money, and headaches down the line. Next, we have concurrent control. This is real-time control. It's like being a coach on the sidelines, yelling out adjustments during the game. It happens while the work is being done. Picture a supervisor walking along an assembly line, spotting an error, and correcting it on the spot. It's all about making those small fixes in the moment to keep everything running smoothly. And number 3 is feedback control. This happens after the fact. It's the post-game analysis. The work is finished, and now you're looking at the results, like a monthly sales report. Now, you can't go back and change last month's numbers, but you can learn from them. This is all about using past performance to make smarter decisions for the future. So, to wrap it all up in a neat little package, feed forward is about prevention. Concurrent is about correcting in the moment, and feedback is about learning and improving for the future. Honestly, the best-run companies don't pick just one. They use a smart mix of all 3 to make sure they're covered from every angle. Okay, enough with the theory, right? Let's see how all this stuff actually works in the real world. For our last section, we're going to dive into a quick case study about a school uniform company and see how all these ideas, the process, the levels, the types, all come together to solve a real problem. So picture this. Management at the uniform company is looking at their reports, and the news is not good. Production numbers are down, and even worse, the number of faulty uniforms, the defect rate, is way up. So they start digging. And this is pure step 3 and 4 of our process. They compare, find the gaps, and then analyze to find the root causes. Bad fabric from a new supplier and new employees who weren't trained properly. So what did they do? They didn't just admire the problem. They jumped into step 5, corrective action. And look at what they did. They used feed-forward control by switching to a supplier with better fabric. They fixed the skills gap with more training. And they boosted their concurrent control by having supervisors on the floor more often. See how they use different types of control? That's just smart management. So let's end this by bringing it all back to you. I want you to think about your own career path. If you're going to be an accountant, is feedback control, analyzing financial reports, your most critical tool? If you're a marketing manager, maybe it's concurrent control, watching a live campaign's performance. And for an office administrator, maybe it's feed-forward control, making sure supplies are ordered before they run out. The real answer is you're going to use them all. But knowing which one to lean on and when? Well, that's what makes you a truly effective professional.